Today on the show, I bring you a merchant of words. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Maritza. Maybe I should let you define yourself.
I think so. I am a spoken word artist.
Yes.
And I call myself a merchant of words. Not officially, but I think the business of speaking really makes you a merchant of words.
Yeah.
As a spoken word artist, I teach, I create poetry for people's personal life experiences.
Yeah.
I've done anniversaries, weddings, birthdays. I also write for corporate events, I perform art events. And really, it's just about telling other people's stories in an entertaining way.
Apart from just doing poetry, you're also a media personality.
I did radio for 9 years, did TV in there as well, but my heart was with radio mostly.
Yeah.
And I'll come back when I think the environment allows me to.
Yeah.
But the season right now, I have no business in media.
I'll tell you what, you might not have business on media, but you do have business on our social media. And we've been seeing you doing a couple of videos and poetry, and I absolutely love it for you. How's that going?
It's fun. Not everyone can leave their house for our after dark performances.
Yeah.
So you might as well put them online for people to engage with you.
So let's start right there. We're getting into your 5 life lessons. Social media is a good place to start. And at number 5, you chose social media as a category from which you've learned a lesson. What's the lesson?
Well, people just talk. It doesn't have to hurt you. That's my biggest lesson from social media.
Yeah.
And I like expression because I'm in the business of expression. I love to see how you express yourself, the words you use, how you talk to people.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I pay attention if I'm invested, but for the most part, I've learned over time, people just talk. Like, people don't pay very much mind to what they're saying. So actually, I've noticed the ones who usually dish it out can't handle it.
Yeah.
I can take it. I know, usually most people speak out of projecting what they're going through, even when they're not aware of it, right?
Okay.
So me, I see you. When you comment on me, I see you, and then I pray for you. But come for my people, I'll teach you a lesson.
You will receive the prayer live and direct.
Thunder fire. I think I come from the place of you can't hurt me more than I can hurt myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
you're ready.
Yeah.
You're ready mentally.
I don't give people the power. I understand the power of words, so I don't let people's words cross a certain threshold.
Yeah.
Like, there's a select handful of people who can get to me with their words.
Yeah.
And that's because, oh my God, or I'm in love or whatever. There's a reason.
You're in your feelings.
I'm in my feelings. There's a real reason. But Sikumanyi Sechi whatever, and then I start catching feelings. So I remember when the Kameza thing happened, I was having a ball.
Yeah.
Like, people pulled out pictures. I'm like, I've never had this much attention in my life. It's sort of like when someone says Olinga and Shima. Do you believe it? Why are you offended?
Why is it hurting?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like if you take on somebody's words, you're allowing what they're saying about you.
You're giving them power.
True. Yes, you're giving them power.
Very first lesson from you. Let's get into lesson number 4.
Yes.
You were talking about at a business model, at a what. I got confused there a little bit. Let's talk about business. What's been your biggest lesson in business?
Forget everything you know and keep learning. Because I've had different experiences, different businesses. I started out as a host and PR of a spoken word platform. What happened in that situation is I entered clean slate, blank slate. Yeah. So it was more adding this. How do you show up at events? How do you show up at festivals as the platform, as the PR person? Banange, still in campus, I don't know what I'm doing. When you go to radio stations, how do you address people? How do you talk? So actually, that's how I ended up on radio.
You're basically learning on the job.
Learning on the job.
Yeah.
So then I got into radio, and same thing. I get into radio. I'm like, okay, so I'm good with talking. I've done PR 3 years. I'm like, I'm good with talking. I'm good with conversation. I'm good with information dissemination. I get there, I reach, I look around, forget everything you know. Enter blank slate once again.
Back to default settings.
And that happened with radio. I think like every 2-3 years, I would have to reset the system and learn again.
That's quite an amazing springboard, because then when you do that, you know what they need and you grow with them and you're able to provide what they need, rather than coming and assuming, I've done this here, I can do it here. I love that. We've got 2 lessons for the price of 1 with that one.
Really?
Yes, we did. Now, the third lesson, you chose academics. And I'll tell you the truth, for me, after university,
You were like, bye-bye.
we're like, bye-bye. So I'm curious to hear what your lesson is in academics.
I think we're supposed to be students of life. That's what I believe. One of my favorite Beyonce albums, which didn't sell, unfortunately, she had a song called Schooling Life. And that was one of my favorite songs about just, life. And she says, who needs a degree when you're schooling life? Meanwhile, at the time that album came out, I was dropping out of university.
You're out here consoling yourself with Beyonce's album.
I was like, Beyonce said you don't need a degree. So my biggest lesson with academics for me was learn. Always be learning. I want to die as someone who has taught people how to learn, because I feel like our schools, they don't teach you how to learn. They just bombard you with information.
Yeah.
So then you leave the school and you don't know how to learn. And yet, every day of your life, you are learning. I think academics is very important if you allow school to be your environment.
And learning is so important. And that's exactly what we're doing today. We're learning from Maritza's life lessons. We've got 3 down, 3 to go. We'll be right back. This is Rated You with me, Q, and I'm joined by Maritza. Every single word that she says is a lesson to pick from. And now we get into lesson number 2. And you chose lifestyle.
Okay, so as a poet, one of my biggest, pushes, the things I advocate for, is perfect self-expression. Perfect self-expression is doing what you love repeatedly in order to be who you are or who you want to be.
Okay.
And what I learned from that growing up is you practice the adult you want to become every day. Practice makes perfect. That is the biggest lesson. So if you practice the person you don't want to be every day, that's exactly who you're going to be.
Yeah.
And 10 years down the road, you are that person simply because every day of your life, this is who you practiced being. And
Coughs in gym.
No guilt.
I feel
no
attacked.
shame. No shame.
Yeah.
For us, we do yoga every 2 to 3 business years. I'm joking. Really just practice who you want to be as often as possible. And it's in little things, your skincare, how you talk to people, what you carry in your handbag. I don't know if you remember this conversation. We had a conversation maybe in 2023 at the start of the year, and I was explaining to you how I have to wake up at 3:30 in order to be able to handle this space, and I had actually built that up because of my environment. My environment was literally feeding me chronic anxiety.
Yeah.
And I had to adjust my lifestyle because I was like, no, I will not be who you're trying to make me out to be.
Yeah.
Everyone around me is stressed out. No, I will not be stressed out.
I will not
Why
join
are we
that
all walking
party.
into the building, our mouths pulled? The sun is rising. We should be happy.
How do you start the day with an attitude?
With an attitude.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things of, I want to be a happy person. This is what I have.
Without saying a lot, we thank God that conversation bore fruit. If you know, you know.
Thank God.
So let's get into lesson number 1. And you chose a place that, is very close to the heart. Okay.
Relationships. This one was a hard one. So I'm very, very comfortable with the idea of polygamy. Very comfortable.
With people choosing polygamy.
People choosing polygamy, having multiple partners, of course within the parameters of respect.
I certainly want to know what brought that lesson on.
So the reason I'm comfortable with that, it's kind of like, I thought of it like, if I don't accept this, I'm dismissing like my step siblings. I'm dismissing their existence. And for me, it was important because I love them. I care about them. They're blood of my blood.
Would you be comfortable to share someone as you?
I believe I would, as me. I believe I would. I haven't been in a relationship where I've had to share. I mean, of course, I think I've been cheated on. I have my suspicions.
With or without your own knowledge. I mean, we all don't know.
And even then, I grew up with the mindset of cheating is not a deal breaker because that's where I was coming from. Because these are the conversations I had with myself, growing up. I was like, I mean, these things happen, Why should I now be annoyed that, these things consistently happen? How about we practice acceptance and find a way?
If it's happening, it's happening. How do we take it on?
How do we find a way to have it respectful, so that people's feelings aren't hurt? Of course, I do not condone cheating. If you commit to one person, commit to one person. And that's why when I understood that for myself, when I committed to one person, I was like, I am committed to one person. Yeah. But if it came about that I had to share my person, this is not a conversation that I would be avoiding. This is a conversation that I would engage, and I'd be like, what are your expectations? What do you want from this situation? You know, are you just doing this because you're being greedy, or is this something that you as a person, you are the kind of person who wants to have wife number 2, 3, 4, and 5, you know? So I would engage that conversation, not from a place of judgment, but from a place of acceptance, because I feel like that's what
knowledge and understanding.
Knowledge and understanding.
How do you feel about polyamory? Are you okay with having multiple partners?
Me as me, yeah.
Sharing you. And also, how do you feel about other people embracing that?
I feel like polyamory is a very touchy-feely subject, because I feel like the people I've seen talk about it didn't go in it with immature mind. People go into like polyamorous relationships with the same mindset of, you know, like monogamous relationships, right? And for me, my thing is, if it's not for you, it's not for you. Don't be greedy. Like, find out where this is coming from, you know? And a lot of people want to be like, oh no, I'm cool, I'm liberated and whatnot. Then you get into the relationship and you're trying to control and be possessive over your partner. I feel like polyamorous relationships are for people who are not possessive. I am not possessive, and there is not a single possessive bone in my body.
Yeah,
it's just that I am mature enough to serve the situation I'm in. If I'm in a monogamous relationship, I am in a monogamous relationship. If I'm in a polyamorous relationship,
still we go.
Let us enjoy, you know? So for me, my biggest lesson in relationships is be open, be honest, know who you are. And when you do that, then you can know where you land. Yeah.
Got you. And now we've come to that part where we want to know what defines you as a person. What's that code you live by?
Follow your desire. And I know there's some people who are going to be like, I want to kill somebody. That is my desire. No, that's not your desire, honey. That is your interpretation of maybe some anger that you've been sitting on for a while. No. My biggest life code is follow your desire. That's why there's a lot of things people be like, hey, Maritza, how come you haven't done this? How come you haven't done that? I don't have the desire to. Even the conversation of children, right? I don't have the desire to have children. Why should I have children? So that you have me out here on these streets shaming me for being a deadbeat mother when me, I already knew
that this was not in your interest.
This is not my path, you know. Follow your desire is so important, because I feel it leads you to perfect self-expression. And people don't take the time to get to know themselves, or maybe they're not equipped to do that. I realized much later in life that there are people actually not equipped to find out about themselves, you know. Life comes at you hard.
Yeah.
That by the time you find who you are, life to you before you life.
Yeah, my friend. That train is on high speed, right? My friend, if you let it take you with it.
It can really take you. So following your desire for me is a way to stay in tune with God. You know, you listen to what your spirit wants, where your spirit wants to go. Where is God directing you, you know? And my desire has led me to beautiful experiences in life, you know? I'm one of those people who, I don't care to leave this country. Other desires, you know, children, marriage, until the desire to do certain things comes to me, I can't move, because when there's no desire, things don't move. Where there's desire, there's synchronicity. I wake up in the morning, Kitty is like, oh, let's do an interview. I'm like, oh yes, I have an album to promote. Let's go. Things like that, you know? So for me, desire leads me to perfect synchronicity. Desire leads me to, you know, being in the right place at the right time. My entire radio career, that was desire led me there, you know? So I really encourage people to find out what they want, what their spirit is telling them to do, because the way has already been paved. You're working hard, toiling and tumbling where God has not paved the way. Here is the way, you know. So I would really love to encourage people to follow their desire.
And beyond just encouraging people to follow their desire, we do encourage people to follow you and that album that we've been talking about. So do share with us your platforms and what you're working on now.
Check me out. I am at MamaKla. And that is on Twitter, mama.kla, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok. And I'm basically sharing Wednesday. So Wednesday is about perfect self-expression, you know. We get 24 hours a day to express ourselves. My favorite day in the week is Wednesday. So I just really share moments of the day, you know. Waking up, I have a little poem about affirmations that was actually inspired by Sima.
Oh, nice.
Then I have a poem in there about all food, all sauce. Around lunchtime hour, it's about greed in relationships. So I basically talk about different moments in the day and how different moments in the day express themselves in this country with the people I love. And that's that's what Wednesday is about.
Sagala Sauli de Satigede. That's at MamaKla and also at mama.kla on TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram.
Yes.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you
so much for being a part of this. I truly, truly love this. And not just because you get to share with us your life lessons, but I learned from this as well.
Yeah.
And for me, the lesson I learned from today's podcast is to be my most authentic self, to be the truest version of myself. Thank you so much, Maritza.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Remember that I still want to hear your opinion, of course. If you wonvuma, Maritza is going to come for you. So please do share with me your opinions and what you completely related with today in the podcast, and share with me your greatest life lessons. It's Rated You on Live Live TV. Kitui Flo is my name. Goodbye.